circulated.
Moved by Councillor Wall and seconded by Councillor Buds. All those in favor? And that's carried. We have no delegations this evening. We have no public hearings, so we're going to move right into committee. First up is Finance, Legislative, and Property Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your committee has nothing to report this evening.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development. Tonight, Councillor Buds for Councillor Meyer.
Thank you, Your Worship. For Council's consideration is a proposal to subdivide. I will not read all these parcels. Council has had this item for their perusal. But our issue here tonight is just a consideration of application for the consolidation of 2.88 acres with 0.5 acres into a 27-unit bare land condominium package. And so Stan Lambert, on the behalf of Paramount Investment Corp., wishes to consolidate 6 existing titles to create a bare land condominium complex with 27 bare land units and a shared common element. Condominium units 1 through 21 will be townhouse units facing the common element, and units 22, 23, 24 along 5th Avenue Northwest are larger lots which could accommodate multi-unit buildings. Units 25 and 26 contain existing fourplexes, and Unit 27 contains an existing 24-unit 3-story apartment block. So this development would be serviced by municipal sewer and water, and the existing road access is off 6th Avenue Northwest, and a new access is proposed off 13th Street Northwest. Parking would be located in the central common element and on units 26th and 27th. So we do have several references to our development plan, references to infill development and higher density residential, as well as our zoning bylaw as relates to R3 and multiple family dwelling zones. And whenever we do these types of things or consider these types of things, obviously we're seeking out comments and feedback from other stakeholders. You can see on page 4 of the report, there's comments from Bell MTS, which would definitely say they're requiring a blank easement. Manitoba Hydro, obviously requiring the easements. Land Titles does require a multi-unit bare land condominium plan, which will be submitted after this. Prior to registration of the condominium plan, all land must be consolidated into one title. And interestingly enough, Canada Post and Portage la Prairie School Division did not have time to respond and may still have some requirements that we'll wait to see. After saying all that, though, the recommendation is still such that we support this. And if council approve the subdivision, we would also need to get community and regional planning into this. And the interesting there, again, they're not going to object to it. So it is a recommendation of this committee, and I so move that the council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve the consolidation and subdivision parcels A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and I, Plan 21568, PLTO, and River Lot 59, Parish of Portage la Prairie, to consolidate 2.88 acres with 0.5 acres into a bare land condominium, subject to an applicant obtaining variances for bulk requirements as required under the City of Portage la Prairie zoning bylaw 10-8492, getting the utility easements being provided as needed, consolidation of land titles into one title, and registration of a multi-unit bare land condominium plan with land titles, and that the developer enter into a development agreement with the City of Portage la Prairie.
Moved by Councillor Buds and seconded by Councillor Espy. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
And that does conclude my committee report.
Thank you. Community Service Committee, Councillor Draycott, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening we do have the renewal of lease agreement with the Centennial Community Club, Inc. So our issue this evening is we need to authorize the renewal of the lease agreement with the Centennial Community Club, Inc. for the use of the BDO Center for the community. The city has been leasing the BDO Center for the community, formerly the Centennial Arena, to CCCI since 2010. Both parties are in agreement to renew the lease for a further 5-year term with no changes to the current terms as outlined by the accompanying agreement. There have been slight changes made to the wording of the agreement since it was presented in committee to clauses 5 regarding usage, 13 regarding annual reporting, and 14B to provide a minimum of $1 million insurance coverage. It is the administrative recommendation that the Council of City of Portage la Prairie approve the renewal of the lease agreement with CCCI for use of the BDO Center for the Community with the term beginning September 1st, 2021 and ending August 31st, 2026, and that they authorize the mayor and manager of administration to sign the agreement. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Draycott and seconded by Councillor Knox. Any questions, comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall, please.
Waterworks Committee has no report at this time, Your Worship.
Thank you. And Councillor Espy, Transportation Committee, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Transportation Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. And Public Safety Committee, Councillor Knox, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing to report this evening, but I would like to welcome Deputy Fire Chief Brad Bailey to his first council meeting tonight. So, thank you for joining us.
We have no deferred business this evening. However, we do have a number of items of new business. First item is the August financial statements. This is for information, and this is Finance Committee.
Thank you, Your Worship, and as you'd mentioned, it is for information. I did present the statement financial position for July at our last meeting, and it does pretty much just paint a balance sheet picture, which is the first page, 1 of 5 in our general fund, accompanied by the basically net income page or income statement on page 2. You can see, I think, for council's reference, just to give you an idea that we're actually, it appears to be significantly ahead of budget at this point in time. But there will be, if you remember the forecast I presented at the last meeting, there will be some significant spending between now and the end of the year, which will get us a lot closer towards budget. So it's not that unpredictable that this happens. As you can see, that we were dealing with the same situation back in this time last year. And then flipping over to the utility side, pretty much the same thing. If you go to the statement of operations, you can see that asterisk there, 2021 budgeted transfer utility reserves of $3.14 million scheduled to be processed in Q3, which will essentially eat up a lot of the surplus that we currently have here recorded. So all things being equal, though, strong financial position through 8 months here at the city, and we're on track to be at or near budget by year end. If there are any questions, that does conclude my report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Buds. Next item of new business is the August building reports. This is City Planning and Economic Development. Tonight for Councillor Meyer, Councillor Buds.
Thank you once again, Your Worship, and I'll just draw council's attention to the combined total amount, although we do separate out these reports. Councillor Meyer does highlight the fact that this is a regional approach, and as such, that's the combination, or the combined totals that we do draw attention to. Another busy month over at our planning district, and you can see actually for the year, although the permit values from 2021 to 2020 have dropped significantly, you can see that there's still a lot of activity going on in our region at 250 permits versus 284. So we all knew that 2020, with a massive amount of industrial development that was taking place in our city and our region, that wouldn't necessarily be replicated, but still very, very strong with over $33 million in investment made by residents and industry here in Portage and region. So very happy with that.
Thank you, Councillor Buds. Next item of new business is the award for the tender for Ashbury Bay. Transportation Committee, Councillor Espy, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The issue is to award the Asbury Bay Land Drainage System Surface Restoration Contract. The analysis is the tender was advertised on the city's webpage and local contractors were contacted. 2 tenders were received for opening on Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. Sustainability factors and pricing were evaluated and are listed above. The project will be funded from the 2021 Storm Sewer Renewals budget of $100,000, and remaining funds, $6,786, will be taken from the unused portion of the 2021 paving budget. The contractor has indicated that work will begin on the Asbury Bay Storm Sewer as soon as possible and will be completed by October 31st, 2021, weather permitting. It is the administrative recommendation that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie award the Asbury Bay Land Drainage System Surface Restoration Contract as specified in Tender 21 OPS 033 to Messington Construction Limited for for the tender price of $106,786, including GST. And I so move.
Moved by Councillor Espy and seconded by Councillor Knox. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Our final item of new business this evening is the purchase of land for future water treatment plant expansion. This is Waterworks Committee. Councillor Wall, please.
Yes, Your Worship, the issue here is to increase the purchase price for the property adjacent to the water treatment plant for a future expansion to the water treatment plant. The alternatives are to not authorize the purchase of the property or to authorize the purchase of the property as recommended. The water treatment plant will require expansion to accommodate the increase in water demands based on the proposed design completed by Stantec Engineering. The expanded facility will not fit on the current city property available at the existing site. The land adjacent to the water treatment plant could accommodate this expansion, and administration entered negotiations with the property owner. On May 10th, 2021, Council approved the purchase of 1.24 acres of land with the current property owner for $92,000 plus all costs associated with the subdivision and purchase, with the expense to be paid out of the Utility Infrastructure Reserve. As a part of the subdivision, a legal survey was completed and determined the area to be purchased consisted of 2.34 acres. With the revised land size, it was necessary to renegotiate a purchase price with the current landowner. Both parties have agreed to a revised purchase price of $115,000 plus relevant associated costs. The recommendation is, and I so move, that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie authorize the purchase of 2.34 acres located at 110 Yellow Quill Trail for $115,000, as well as all costs associated with the subdivision, including legal and land transfer fees, and that the Council of the City of Portage la Prairie approve a withdrawal of $115,000 from the Utility Infrastructure Reserve to purchase this property for future expansion of the water treatment facility.
Moved by Councillor Wall and seconded by Councillor Draycott. Any questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor of the motion? And that's carried.
That's all I have this evening, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Wall. We have no old business this evening, so council is adjourned at 6:12 p.m. And we're going to move right into committee. And by the way, committee is open to the public and open to the media. And we'll call committee to order at 6:13 p.m. First up is the Finance, Legislative and Property Committee. Councillor Buds, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. City Planning and Economic Development Committee. Councillor Buds for Councillor Meyer.
Once again, your committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. And Community Services Committee. Councillor Draycott, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. This evening for discussion, coming to next council meeting, we do have an affordable housing project coming forward. So a bit of analysis on this. In April of 2021, the City of Portage la Prairie was provided $1.124 million from the province of Manitoba to invest in affordable housing projects and initiatives in the community. As a contractual partner of the city, the Portage la Prairie Community Revitalization Corporation was asked to submit a proposal for the use of these funds in partnership with established community partners. In response, the PCRC submitted a proposal that addressed 4 major areas to utilize the provided funds to address affordable housing needs in the community. Number 1, the construction of affordable rentals. The PCRC has submitted a plan to leverage provincial funds with several other programs to build 6 new 3-bedroom units. These units will be rented and managed by the PCRC and rented at below market pricing. At least 2 units will be fully accessible to people living in our community with mobility challenges. These units will be built at different locations throughout the city and will focus on being close to community assets. The anticipated completion date would be September of 2023. Number 2, First-Time Home Buyers Program. This program would help those first-time home buyers who face barriers assessing home ownership due to a down payment required. The program would seek up to 20 local families who can afford rent but cannot make a leap to home ownership with providing a forgivable loan secured by the property. Similar programs have been very successful in other communities in Manitoba. This program would conclude in September of 2023. Number 3, affordable housing study. In order to best target current and future resources, the PCRC will conduct a housing needs assessment study. This study would focus on all areas of housing needed to provide guidance to how the city should approach affordable housing projects in the future. This study would also give the city a competitive advantage when applying for affordable housing grants from the federal level in the future. The study would conclude and be presented to City Council by September 2023. And number 4, partnership with Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity has had a long history of successful affordable housing projects within the city of Portage la Prairie. In 2022, the local chapter plans to build a duplex building and requests $150,000 in seed money from the city to help bring this project to fruition. PCRC has agreed to partner with Habitat to administer this project to create additional affordable housing units in our community. This project would be completed in 2023. Administration has reviewed these proposals and has received conditional approval from the province of Manitoba to move forward with funding the projects as stipulated in the original funding agreement. If approved by council, administration will work with the PCRC to establish a timeline that would allow for funding to be transferred to support these projects, subject to clear benchmarks being accomplished over the 2 years. So this item will be coming to council as I expressed next council meeting, but we are able to discuss if there is any questions or concerns or just general comments about the project.
Well, maybe I'll start. Just want to thank PCRC for all the hard work that's been on this. As we know, affordable housing is an issue not just here in Portage la Prairie, but right across this nation. So it certainly looks like this plan will go ways to addressing some of those needs within our own community. So that's great to see it moving ahead.
I would also echo that I know that things like affordable housing study have come up multiple times in our community. This will be an advantage for us from different levels because the city will have this information. Different community organizations will have this information, and from an economic standpoint, it is also important for us to know this type of thing when we're talking to investors looking at our community, what our needs are and where they are located. So I support this project. I'm excited that the PCRC is involved in it as they deal with this type of thing all the time, and they have established themselves as a great entity in our community that would be able to handle a project like this. So very excited about this coming down the pipeline. And if there aren't any other questions or concerns about the affordable housing project, I would actually invite Victoria Espy from PCRC to the chambers this evening just to give us a run through of some of the events happening later on this week.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to pull up my information here. I first want to start by thanking the City of Portage for their partnership this morning on the first flag raising that happened where we raised the Every Child Matters flag together. So thank you so much for kicking off National Truth and Reconciliation Week in such a meaningful way. There's lots of different events that are coming up this week. Something that started off today was Paving the Way Home. So this is where we have every school in the division partnering with us to paint orange handprints along many city sidewalks. And thank you to Mayor Ferris and City Manager Mr. Pito for participating in that today. And there's also several events that are actually taking place on September 30th to honor this day. So for PCRC and many community organizations, we are partnering on an Every Child Matters event that will be taking place at Simplot Central Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is in partnership with the Family Resource Center, the Portage Family Abuse Prevention Center, the Portage Bear Clan, the School Division, Recreation Opportunities for Kids, the Portage Urban Indigenous Peoples Coalition, the Portage Co-op, SOBIES, Serious Protection and Security, and Central Plains Cancer Services. So taking place from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. will be a community feast. Lots of cultural activities. We'll be raising a teepee. There will be teepee stories and teepee teachings happening that day. Demonstrations from jingle dress dancers, elders, and drummers. So it will be a very educational and meaningful event. There's also several other events happening across the city that I strongly encourage our community to participate in. There's an event happening at the Quiche Kimakwa that begins at 10 a.m. and as well as Southport happening at 1 p.m. So it's very encouraging to see our community band together to really honor and support the first National Truth and Reconciliation Day. And like I said, I strongly encourage everybody to participate and take up all of these educational opportunities that are happening across our city. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Espy, and that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Draycott. Waterworks Committee, Councillor Wall.
Thank you, Your Worship. Waterworks Committee has no report this evening.
Thank you. And Transportation Committee, Councillor Espy, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Transportation Committee has nothing to report.
Thank you. And finally, Public Safety Committee, Councillor Knox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nothing from your Public Safety Committee this evening.
Thank you. So committee is adjourned at 6:21 p.m. Thank you for coming out, everybody.